This is paper 2, summer 19, 2-1. I'm actually going to start this one with the mark scheme for the task that year. Now it was a different task, but you could see what they asked them to do was talk about a data structure, and it was worth 3 marks, and they got 1 mark for saying that it was an array. Now you might do an array, or you might do a list for yours. They gave me the name of it, and the data type, integer. So for instance, if you were going to use the name, it would be string. Date, and the example I gave was string, but the menu choice would be integer. The purpose, what is it used for? And that's how the 3 marks were awarded. So that could have got an award, or this is another one where it's a different array. Remember, yours is going to be a list probably, and you're going to say the data type that's storing, whether it's a string or an integer, and what it's used for. And that's how you get your 3 marks if you get a similar question. Then they asked about a variable name. So you choose any variable that you're using. You say its data type and how it's used, briefly like that. And that's 3 marks there. And that was task 2. Then they asked for one in task 3. And there's another variable, the data type, and the purpose, briefly like that. That's when they say purpose, it's just something short like that. And that was worth 6 marks. Now that's almost half of the marks awarded to part A. And this is how the code was. If you've got a conditional statement, then they got a mark. If they were counting, because they were asked to count something, if they're asked to total something, they're asked to do the calculation. Well, this will relate directly to the task. So every single item on that task that we just went through, if you've got some code that does that roughly, then you will get the marks up to 6 points for it. So that's part A. I can't really go over part A much because they've already given you the question and you already have an answer. So I'm going to focus here on part 2. So section 2, question 2 is going to be, for this particular paper, is describe the following data types: a char, a string, and a boolean, and it is worth 6 marks. And it's a relatively straightforward question. Character, a single character, and then an example. So you get 1 mark for this, 1 mark for the example. So any of these are a character. String, it's actually an array of characters, or a sequence of characters, and then an example, hello world, or the name Joe would have done. A boolean, data type with 2 possible values, for example, true or false, or yes or no. That's question 2. Give an example of a conditional statement. Remember, you've got conditional statements and you have loops. And there are 2 conditional statements. One is an if statement. If condition, and then what you do with it. So if this condition is true, then I do that, and that's worth 2 points, as you can see. Or you could use a case statement. So case x of, so if x equal to 1, then I do this. If x equal to 2, then I do this. Otherwise, I do that. That's a case statement. It's another conditional. There are 2 conditionals, an if statement and a case statement. And then the next part of that question says, describe the purpose of a conditional. And the purpose of a conditional, quite simply, is to allow different routes through a program dependent upon meeting a criteria. There's your criteria, and here's your routes, route 1, route 2. Here's a question on testing. We have a section of code, and here we have a range check. And it says, give a name for this type of validation check and describe what it's doing for 2 marks. And so we have the name for this is a range check, because it's checking that the data input is within a particular range. And the we have 2 descriptions. 1, check to see if it's within this range, and if it is rejected, then they have to enter again. Otherwise, it's accepted and the value is output. So any one of these 3 for how it works. Now we have to complete a trace table for this, and it's worth 3 marks. And they give us some test data. So what I suggest you do is you get the test data and you open up a word processor, insert a table, and this table will be for 2 columns. Let's just what I would like to do is paste my test data down here so that I can see it, and then what I'm going to do is let me just hide this. Okay, so let's do this. So the first line, line 1, the first thing I do is I output this, and so if I list this as value output, and I take this one and I paste it in here, that's my first output. I come down to line 2, I input a value. What is my value? My value is 200. So I enter 200, and then while value is less than 0 or greater than 100. Is this true? Yes, it is true. So therefore I'm going to print this because it's true. I come in here and I print this, and then I come down here and I input the value. The next value is 300. I loop around, ask myself the same question. Well, this is true again because it's greater than 100. I come down, I get the next one, minus 1. Minus 1, I loop back around and it's less than 0, so come back in and I output this again. And then I go another line here. What is my value? My value is 50, so I input 50. And input 50. 50 is not less than 0, and it's not greater than 100. So then I come over here and I do accepted, and then I type in the value. So this is my message, accepted. So I say accepted, and then of course I put the value for value because that's a variable in my output. I say accepted 50, and then I'm done. So I don't actually get to the test state of 60. I don't do anything with that, and that's how that trace table is done. And now for chunky 5 marks, which is 10% of this particular paper because it's only 50. I have to draw a flowchart of that code, and here is the flowchart. You can check it against the code. So I start, output message, I input, I read the value, I do my validation check. If it's invalid, I say invalid, try again, and I loop around. Remember parallelograms for the inputs and outputs. I come back in here to my diamond, it's yes or no, I could say true or false, and then eventually it's not an erroneous data, and then I say accept the value and I end. So that is a flowchart. Make sure you can write that out and you understand that. And finally we have a database question. The table name is beverages. Why is bev number the primary key? Because each data value is unique. Each beverage number is unique, so it uniquely identifies it. That's what a key field is. State the number of records shown. Number of records shown is 10 records. How do we know that? Well, we count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember, the rows are records. Each one of these is called a field. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fields. If it asks you about fields, the rows are records. That's worth 1 point. And now we have list the output that you would have with this query. So it's going to show the beverage number and the beverage name, where the can equals yes, small bottle equals yes, and the large bottle equals yes. It's going to be sorted in descending order according to the beverage name, and that would give us the output here. Beverage 07, beverage 01, lemonade and cola, because it's descending order. So descending order with the alphabet, ascending would be ABC, and descending is CBA. So therefore, L comes after C in the alphabet, so it's lemonade and cola. And these are the 2 fields that it asks to see, because they're the only ones that meet the criteria, and that's worth 3 points. Then finally, asks you to fill out this showing just the names and the primary keys, so you're just showing these two fields, of all the beverages with a calorie count greater than 45. And it should be in alphabetical order. So that is ascending in order of names. So therefore, ascending, alphabetical order by beverage name. These are the only two fields showing. You have to put the table name in. You have to put the table name in or you get no points. And it's with the calories field greater than 45. Okay, and that's it for that paper.